Let's talk about this lens again, the Viltrox 25mm F1.7 that I recently did a review of. If you want to see the full review, I'll put a link in the description down below. Around the 3-minute mark in that review, I mentioned something about this lens that got a lot of people talking in the comments, and that was this little gap in the mounting ring where the USB-C port sits. Now, in the comments of that video, another YouTuber mentioned that their version of the lens does not have a gap in the mounting point. So that got me thinking, is the version that I received a dud? Do I have to go back and completely redo that review and take that out because my version was defective or something like that? But then I got to talking with some other people that do have this lens and have it specifically for the Fujifilm X-Mount, and the people that I talked to with the X-Mount version all reported that they also have this little notch. So I reached out to Viltrox and confirmed with them that the little gap in the mounting ring is specific to the Fuji X-Mount. If you get the Sony E-mount version, it will not have that notch, but on the X-Mount, it is part of the design. Now, I wasn't able to get any confirmation or sample images from people with the Nikon Z-mount, so if you do have the Z-mount version of this lens, comment down below if your version has that little notch or not. I'd love to know. However, one thing I do want to mention about this little gap and about the notch is that if you take a look at the lens right here, and I'll pop out of frame real quick. So the USB-C port sits right here. It's along the very outer edge of the lens mount and the mounting ring. There is still a little gap between where the USB-C sits and where the center barrel of the mount sits. So it does still create a seal, a kind of barrier from the outside elements between your sensor and outside of the camera. But that gap on the USB-C port does still leave it somewhat vulnerable to dust and moisture getting into the USB-C port. If that is a deal breaker for you, I totally get it, but if you do get this particular lens for the Fuji X-Mount, just know you are gonna have this little notch. In my opinion, I think it's still very usable. I'm still gonna use this lens. All right, so that was the follow-up about the 25mm F1.7 Air from Viltrox. Again, if you wanna see the full review, I'll put links in the description down below. But for anyone that was in the comments of that original video asking about the notch, I wanted to make this follow-up specifically for y'all so you had the information confirmed from Viltrox that this is specific to the Fujifilm X-Mount. All right, like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. See you in the next one.